Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am Allison Wilson, Director of the Office of Communications for Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks. Thank you for announcing an executive order on public safety, followed by Chief Aziz to explain more about a public safety plan here for National Harbor. Then Council Chair Jolene Ivey, who's going to talk about legislation that is with County Council right now to address juvenile crime in National Harbor, followed by State Senator Anthony Muse, who represents this district in Annapolis, and then Superintendent Millard House, Superintendent of Prince George's County Public Schools. Thank you so much. County Executive.
Good morning, everyone, and want to say thank you so much for being here this morning. Today, I am joined by Chief Malik Aziz and his team, who will discuss our efforts over the past several months to keep our public spaces safe and fun for everyone. I'd like to acknowledge this morning, I'm going to have a number of leaders who will be making remarks. I'll be joined, Council Chair Jolene Ivey is here and will be making remarks. I'd like to acknowledge also State Senator Anthony Muse, who will be making remarks, as well as our school superintendent, Millard House, who will be here, who's here and will be making remarks as well. I also see that we are joined by Council Member Ed Burrows and also Council Member Calvin Hawkins. I want to thank them so much for their presence this morning. I'd like to also to thank for their continued support Ken Digby, the Peterson companies, and other businesses from National Harbor who have expressed concerns regarding issues they're facing at National Harbor. Now, as we draw closer to the summer season, the county has been proactively working on plans to keep disorderly behavior and criminal conduct under control. And for the last few months, we have engaged in planning with the Prince George's County Police Department to monitor National Harbor. And we've been in constant contact with the Peterson companies so that we can better meet their safety needs. The incident that we saw this past weekend, to put it mildly, was quite troubling. And I know that the community here in National Harbor has been concerned as well about crime. There have been reports of large crowds of juveniles and minors who are gathering and engaging in vandalism, violence, theft, and other criminal behavior that has been a frustration to this community and all of its residents. We share their frustration, and I want to make it abundantly clear that this type of behavior is absolutely unacceptable and will not be tolerated. This behavior is impacting the quality of life for all of those who call National Harbor home, from families traveling to and from work every day or out and about enjoying the neighborhood, to the businesses and employees who spend much time here every day. And it is not just that we are concerned about National Harbor, we're concerned about all of the areas around it as well. Everyone who calls National Harbor home deserves to experience peace and to enjoy their homes in their community. What we know is that National Harbor creates millions of dollars in tax revenue for Maryland and creates many more opportunities for our residents. But as a result of this unruly behavior, some National Harbor businesses have been forced to close early. Approximately 30% of their revenue is generated on weekends, which is the time when we've seen increased presence of juveniles congregating at the harbor and engaging in disruptive behavior. We began working to address all of these issues because it's easy to envision a situation where these issues escalate, possibly leading to businesses deciding to leave the harbor permanently and residents who no longer feel safe. The residents who live here and the businesses that have opened here have all made an investment in Prince George's County, and we want to make sure that that investment remains safe. Here's the simple truth. If visitors do not feel safe coming to the National Harbor, then these businesses, their employees, our state and our county will suffer. And I can't emphasize this enough. National Harbor is home to many, many people, and they deserve a safe, welcoming place to live. We will not allow these disruptions to continue, and so I'm here today to announce concrete steps that we're taking to protect the peace at National Harbor. I am declaring by executive order a state of emergency, and there will be a juvenile curfew at National Harbor beginning Friday, April 26th at 5 p.m. Anyone 16 years old and younger without supervision must be off the property between 5 p.m. and 6 a.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. Make no mistake, I am deeply angered and disappointed by the teens that were involved in looting stores and engaging in acts of violence at National Harbor last weekend, and those responsible will be held to account for their actions. I want to be clear that this decision was not made in reaction to the events of this past weekend. Instead, this past weekend's incident confirmed what we've been planning for the past several months. This executive order curfew is just a temporary measure as we finalize a long-term solution using legislation that is currently working its way through our county council. This is legislation that my office began working on with the Peterson companies earlier this year as we anticipated what may come as the spring and summer months approached. Again, I want to thank Chair Ivy and our county council for their efforts to move this legislation quickly as an emergency bill so that it can be passed and take effect in the very near future. This legislation will allow commercial property owners and residents the ability to request zones within the county with a more restrictive juvenile curfew. The executive order that I am announcing today will be in place until this bill passes, and those areas that wish to have an opportunity to apply for a curfew zone get that opportunity. The Chief of Police will review those applications and take the appropriate next steps. We're not only doing this to protect National Harbor's businesses, residents, visitors, and the general public, but we're also acting proactively, working to protect the county's children. The Peterson companies, who continue to be great partners, as well as all of the businesses at the National Harbor, had violence interrupters working at National Harbor who are trained to interrupt violence before they escalate. It was effective at first, but now the violence interrupters are often being ignored by the misbehaving crowds of minors, and this will not be tolerated. The Prince George's County Police Department is working on an enhanced coverage plan for National Harbor to address any safety issues, and in a few moments, Chief Aziz will talk more about that plan that will go into effect beginning at 5 p.m. Friday. But even with this curfew going into effect, we're going to continue to work together to address these issues as they spill out into the streets at National Harbor or anywhere else in our county. Also here with us today is Superintendent Millard House. I appreciate his leadership of our school system and his continued partnership with us. We know that one of the things happening at the harbor is juveniles from various schools hosting fight clubs and using social media to let everyone know which schools will be fighting and where the fights will take place. This behavior is not only unacceptable, it is very dangerous. We're going to work with Superintendent House and the leadership in our schools to address this behavior directly with students to try and keep it from continuing to happen. The county will also continue to offer constructive outlets to keep our young people occupied. That's why we've continued to expand our summer youth enrichment program, and while we'll be offering the Alsobrooks Summer Passport experience for another summer, so that the county's young people will have opportunities to receive education and training in a wide range of fields. We also need to provide our children opportunities to engage, to learn, and to grow all year long, which is why we're also continuing the Alsobrooks Youth Leadership Institute, which provides youth the opportunity to learn about county government, public service, and community service. Not only does this offer our youth another constructive activity, but it also provides a platform for positive examples that our young people can see. We know that mental health issues may drive some of the upticks in crime, as both our youth and adults may have stressful situations that they are struggling to deal with constructively. That's why we've continued to invest in our mental health care and addiction infrastructure so our residents can have access to the care they need. And we have other efforts, such as the launch of our private security camera incentive program that offers rebates to people who install camera security systems on properties owned or leased by individuals, nonprofit groups, and businesses. We also continue to invest in programs like Hope in Action providing wraparound services like mental health services, after-school programming, mentoring, re-entry services, and more. And I want to encourage parents to visit mypgc.us/youth to learn more about the many constructive opportunities and outlets that we've created for young people in our community. But I also want to make it clear that the government can only do so much. Parents, at the end of the day, are responsible for our own children. If your child is out looting, out fighting, out creating an unsafe space for other people, that falls on the parent. Parents must be responsible for their children. And when they act out in public in ways that are dangerous, parents are responsible, and parents must face the consequences. Our parents must know that National Harbor is not a daycare or a playground, and we cannot have our children coming to the National Harbor unsupervised, especially with the intention of causing trouble. The police and county are not solely responsible for our children. We are here to help protect our children and the greater Prince George's County community. We will hold parents accountable who leave their unaccompanied children at National Harbor, and there will be consequences, including monetary fines. We need our parents to talk to their children, to know where they are, and to understand what's going on with them. It is not the government's job to continually monitor and supervise our youth. The government has been doing its part and will continue to do so, but we need everyone's participation in order to succeed. We can invest in all of the programs and preventive measures possible, but there's only so much that we can do. This is a community exercise and must be a community effort and responsibility. We need our parents to play an active part in keeping our children occupied with constructive activities. And until people start finding, also, we're going to have to keep our kids accountable. The violence and disorderly conduct that has been happening is completely unacceptable. And adopting these measures will help ensure that the vast majority of people can continue to enjoy everything that our county provides. Our goal is to ensure that everyone can feel safe and secure, and that they can come to enjoy the vibrant community that we have here and everything that our community has to offer. So today, this executive order is the first of many steps. It's but one tool in our toolbox that we have planned to keep National Harbor in all of fun and safe for everyone. And I'd like to now turn over the program to Chief Aziz, who will talk more in detail about how the police department will enforce the curfew. Thank you.
Good morning. First, let me thank our leader, County Executive Angela Also Brooks, for her immediate action addressing the matter of unaccompanied minors at National Harbor. Our CAO, Tyra Jackson, our DCO, AO Barry Stanton, for their leadership in moving these directives forward, and our August County Council, who is here. Thank you so much, Chair Ivy, Councilman Hawkins, and Councilman Burrows. We appreciate you so much, and thank you for being here, to the Senator and to the school superintendent, the school CEO. I want to say special thanks to, I see a couple of them out here, to Kent Digby and Chris Borgel and Bill Dunstan for their leadership with the Peterson Company and National Harbor for forming and forging a viable and positive relationship. Everything you do in the National Harbor is appreciated, and everything you do in Prince George's County, it falls nothing short of magnificent. I can't begin to move forward without thanking my team, who are some are over here to the left of me. I'll ask them to come up here if you don't mind. You can stand up here close to me. That's Assistant Chief Hale, Captain Hanson. I believe Major Klein is around here, somewhere in this room, for the leadership of this team. The county executive's emergency order, which is to be implemented immediately will help to ensure the safety and well-being of our youth, first and foremost, residents, our businesses, and the tourists who converge on and enjoy the many magnificent and vibrant things in Prince George's County. The safety of our children is paramount, and the county executive's emergency order provides guidance, direction, leadership, and support during potentially vulnerable times. Last weekend, we saw an upward estimates of about 800 juveniles converge on National Harbor. Many were not there to partake in the wonderful waterfront environment with magnificent retail outlets and top-notch restaurants, but they were there to be disorderly, fighting, shoplifting, smoking cannabis, being confrontational with business owners and residents and law enforcement personnel. Our officers were able to intervene and bring back calmness to the National Harbor with the help of National Harbor personnel, and that includes Metro Security and the community engagement specialists down in National Harbor. I want to send a really special thanks to those two groups who operate every day, every weekend in conjunction with our police department. The community engagement specialists have shown to be a special group of people who can engage in the right way with young people in the National Harbor. So I want to extend a real kudos and thanks to them, often underappreciated also. Beginning Friday evening, we will increase the number of officers assigned to National Harbor on the weekends. Officers will be there to help educate any visitors on the curfew and enforce the curfew if needed. As a reminder, there's a decades-old countywide curfew law that remains in effect. This emergency order simply moves up the time of the curfew, beginning at the weekends and National Harbor. Officers will be there to work with the National Harbor's community engagement specialists to engage any visitors. They ensure they are aware of the curfew as well as the exceptions. If we encounter any unaccompanied minor, officers will talk to them to see if they fall under one of the exceptions, and if not, officers will work to contact their parents and/or guardians to have the child picked up if necessary. Keep in mind that the curfew law requires a warning, and we are seeking cooperation with parents and youth. I know that adjustments may be needed, and we assure you that the Prince George's County Police Department will work closely with the Office of the County Executive, parents, guardians, residents, businesses, and the media to keep you informed with any necessary changes. Parents, to the parents, speaking directly, you have been given one of the greatest responsibilities of all, nurturing, guiding, and parenting your children. Your role in their lives is not simply your responsibility, but an opportunity to teach and mold them into successful, skilled adults and be future assets to our beautiful Prince George's County. We all play a role in building successful youth into young adults who contribute positively to our beautiful Prince George's County. I would say there are not many reasons that your unaccompanied children need to travel alone anywhere, and especially late into the night. Our police personnel have personally encountered young people as young as 8, 10, 11, 12-year-old who are running around in the harbor unaccompanied by an adult. We're sure this has contributed to the problems that we seen last weekend. It's unacceptable, and it's always been under the curfew law. Our children, no matter what their age, look towards us for love, leadership, and accountability. All are required, and we know that keeping our children at home during curfew hours could have its challenges, but the alternatives have great consequences. That's why our county executive has exacted this emergency order, reinforced by our county council, our county leadership, myself, and your police department. This should assist you in making those tough decisions and keeping your children, our children, and all residents safe from harm. We're in this challenge together. The Prince George's County Police Department will be distributing flyers with information listed that will help you navigate and negotiate with the county executive's emergency order. We have requested the rideshare drivers not to drop off unaccompanied minors in National Harbor. This would be in compliance and cooperation with the emergency order. If you drop your children off, or if they drop the children off, the unaccompanied minors will be issued a warning, and their parents must pick them up, or they must return in the method in which they arrived. If not, the children will be referred to or released to the Department of Juvenile Services or our appropriate county department personnel handling family and social services. Simply follow the curfew. Friday through Sunday, 5 p.m. to 6 a.m., no accompanied minors may be at National Harbor. This directive does not allow for juveniles or minors when accompanied by a parent or guardian, like I just mentioned, accompanied by a person over the age of 21 or authorized by the parent or guardian, on the sidewalk in front where a juvenile or minor resides, the resident of a next-door neighbor, if the neighbor did not complain to the police. If is returning home by a direct route from a school activity or activity of a religious or other association or place of employment, or authorized attendees to a senior prom event like the Gaylord Resort and Convention Center, exemption is applicable, authorizing attendees directly going to the Gaylord and leaving National Harbor immediately after the prom event has ended. If a child breaks this curfew, a written violation notice is mailed to the parent or guardian. We will be contacting that parent or guardian even on the initial onstart from the warning. If a child violates the curfew for a second time, the parent or guardian could face a civil fine that rises up to $250. 50, then 100 and $250, and subsequent $250, and aligned with the provisions, can be held accountable for the time that it takes while they're in our custody or in our presence or in our responsibility. I will say this, I have to add, I think that we must frame it properly. While we have paid great attention to events or incidents that have unfolded in the National Harbor, this has been going on for quite some time, that we have paid great attention to it. We've made the necessary adjustments over time, and I think the culmination of the incident this past weekend, it prompted our county executive to take an immediate action, which is necessary. But at no time in the National Harbor have we redirected resources that were necessary to actually police and provide a safe environment across our county, across 500 miles of our square miles of our county. We continue to deliver those services in a proper way. So what we have directed at the National Harbor will be accomplished through other means. We have personnel that have been permanently assigned to National Harbor, and that has been the case for many years. We have overtime initiatives that are at the National Harbor. We have non-call answering personnel who come to the National Harbor to work, to actually provide a presence. And in the summer, when school is out, when we don't have summer school, and they're not placed in summer school, our school resource officers are redirected across the county, but mainly in National Harbor. So we've been able to accomplish these things without sacrificing any safety across our county. Even today, total crime is down 13% in our county, and that's a victory. Carjackings are down in our county today. We continue to arrest a significant number of young people for those crimes. Our homicides have slightly increased, but the point of note in our homicides is that 10 of those are domestic violence. Domestic violence. We are not in anyone's home. We don't police inside of a house. So our men and women who are going out here every day to make our county safe and provide that trusted environment, they're doing an exceptional job. So I want to reiterate that point. So our resources that we are directing to National Harbor are resources that we can implement without sacrificing any other resource across the county. I want to, end, my segment of this by saying what is going to happen in the National Harbor. We've put together a great plan. To my right here is Captain Hansen, and Captain Hansen is responsible for the actions that will happen in the National Harbor. A high command officer will be leading this every day and every weekend in order to provide that safe environment. In our plan, which is very robust and has been approved, that we will start on April 26th. We plan on having emergency curfew notification post in place. We have traffic control posts and some road closures when necessary. Many foot patrols and contact teams will be working together to make sure that we have the proper engagement with our young people and provide a layer of safety and security. A number of officers in high visibility static posts, which are very close to some of our retail locations, which upon our experience has indicated to us that we need to have officers there at all times in order to have a prevention type of visibility. And along those lines, we have many officers who are working in secondary employment down in the harbor who are in contact with us with radio communications and some check-ins to let us know how things are going in some of the assignments that they have been tasked with. When you come into the harbor, there will be no excuse for saying you did not know. We'll have many of the messaging boards. I think we'll have upwards of 12 messaging boards that you can see when you're entering into the harbor from the freeway up on National Harbor Boulevard, that you'll be able to see those signs readily noticed. But this is what we're here for today, to make sure that the word gets out that this is not going to be a place for the violation of curfew or any other type of illegal or illicit activity in our National Harbor footprint. We will have, we work with WMATA, with the bus system. We'll be addressing those. We've worked with the ride share to have drop-off points for those who are coming to the harbor who are not juveniles and affected by the curfew, or they're with an adult. Then we have the police and common sense, they go together to address those, along with those traffic posts which will be made public here by Captain Hansen if it hasn't already been given to you during this presser. The foot patrol teams, high visibility static posts, and the contact teams, they'll be working in unison and cooperation with each other, that we have a command center that we can relay information back and forth, because information and intelligence will help and serve to our greater benefit. Remember, our number one goal is to provide a safe and secure environment and deliver those professional police services in a way that all of our residents and our business owners can be proud. And we intend to do that, which we have been doing over the past couple of years, but especially in the past 6 months, where we've made readjustments over and over inside our National Harbor. And I know that we're going, I don't know where that information is at, there are going to be some specific information given out, and I know many of you would have questions, but we will wait until it's time for those questions at this time. I don't know who was next up here. Me. Oh, the Chair Ivy. Well, come on up, Chair Ivy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief Aziz. Thank you, County Executive also Brooks, for your leadership on this issue. And I'm really glad to have a wonderful council to work with who's also so supportive. Ed Burrows is here, who has sponsored the legislation that's moving its way through the council. And at-large member Calvin Hawkins, always a big supporter of safety in the county. And you know, National Harbor is just such a fun place to be. which is part of the reason it's such a magnet for the region, but we cannot allow young people who should not be out unsupervised to make it unsafe for themselves, our residents, or our visitors. So we want to make sure that we're in partnership with the business community, with law enforcement, and the residents of our county who have been strongly supportive of these measures, whether we're talking about the emergency legislation that's going into effect now under the county executive, or the measure that we have put forward as a council that is moving forward through the county council. I have gotten nothing but support. There are few issues that I can tell you that everyone who calls, texts, or emails me about is supportive of, and this is one. I've had zero pushback and all love. People are very happy that we're doing this. And we have to remember that the issue is not a Prince George's issue. It's not even a regional issue, it's a national issue, because Twitter and Instagram, they know no bounds. And these kids are sending the word out to everyone they know, and everyone is coming to one place. So right now it's been National Harbor. Next it could be Bethesda. I don't know. But if it's anywhere else in Prince George's County, we're prepared because of the legislation that's working its way through will cover any commercial area throughout the county that applies for and is approved as a region that will get this curfew. And our police chief will be the person who can decide how a curfew should be adjusted over time. So we really appreciate his leadership in this, and we appreciate you all being here today. And now I'm going to turn to Senator Muse, who has a few words to share.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. I want to first thank our county executive, who has done a tremendous job in responding to an issue that has been a long time issue, and it just spiraled out of control. Thank you, Chair Ivey. Thank you for what you've done as well. And of course, without our education and our police help, we can't get much done. I am joined, and I'm thankful for, again, the councilman of this district, Edward Burrows, and I believe I saw one of our delegates back here somewhere, because I want you to know that you have the support of the state behind what you are doing. We grappled with this issue in our session, just how tough ought we be. But we also knew that there was no way we could sit down and do nothing. So I want to thank you for the legislation. This National Harbor is in our district, and I have received a number of complaints about not just the behavior, but people feeling unsafe, and our older people saying that after 5 and 6 o'clock, they're just not going to go to National Harbor. This affects the businesses. It affects everyone, and it affects our county by giving a false portrayal that that's what we are all about. So I want to thank you for that. It is very simple. Something must be done. And I say to a few critics who say, well, this is tough. My mom used to have something called tough love. And trust me, if when those street lights came on, we were not coming home, we understood and we felt tough love. So the parents have got to be involved if we're going to make this happen. And so thank you, and we're here to support you from the state level 100%. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Millard House, the proud superintendent of the Prince George's County Public School, and I'd like to also thank our county executive for her leadership and really leading the way to ensure that we have the safest county possible. Also, Chief Aziz and law enforcement, thank you for what you do, and of course the number of county officials that are here that are standing behind the change that needs to occur. Now, our commitment to the well-being of students really extends beyond the classroom, and will remain vigilant in addressing challenges that arise to create a culture to respect and the kind of responsibility amongst our community and students. We stand behind the county executive, as I've said, and our law enforcement partners, and will do our part to ensure that students and families are aware of this curfew. As you know, it takes a village, and this is a collective effort. As always, the safety and well-being of students is the top priority. We will continue to work aside the county executive and Chief Aziz to ensure that these efforts are successful and smooth. Our schools will continue to offer resources and educate students on the appropriate behavior and consequences of engaging in disruptive or unlawful activities. PGCPS also remains committed to providing resources and opportunities for constructive engagement outside of school hours. Especially approaching the summer break, we will continue to promote programs and opportunities for our students to, again, stay engaged. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Superintendent. For members of the media, I'm going to have all the speakers come to the front, and we're going to have you all ask questions from there so that you've got everyone you need right here to provide answers. Dean Sarnes, with questions in front of you. John?
You talked about, I guess, something you've been thinking about doing for a while now, that you've sort of been developing plans for the last few months. What do those plans look like maybe before last weekend, and how has that sort of switched up in recent days?
Well, I can allow, the chief can speak more specifically to the strategies used by the police department, but I can tell you this. What we saw unfold last weekend, by all accounts, was the single worst day that we've had there. And that's what caused us to really expedite the plans that we were already working on, as I heard from a number of individuals who were on the ground, who were part of security and other things, who said they had never seen a day quite like Saturday. And that's what caused us to expedite the plans that we had. But Chief Aziz, you can, if you can just address what was being planned.
I get your question was, how did the plans look before? I didn't see who asked.
Are these stricter than what you were sort of thinking about doing before?
This is ramped up. Indeed it is. We've made adjustments over a period of time in the National Harbor, even going back before my tenure, that this was addressed in that fashion to ramp it up. Then we've had about 3 other major times that were significant for us to address some gatherings, unruly shoplifting, overtaking, stores with massive amounts of people that a business owner could not actually, maintain inside of a store. And so we started, putting those posts together in a combination with National Harbor, with Metro Security, with the community engagement specialists are down there, with our robust cops office and community first, to try to put into what I consider to be, a pot. And just like a stew pot or something, a recipe to put things that are great and of value, and we addressed it, and we continue to address it. Even at this last weekend, even being more significant, we addressed those issues early on to place more personnel down there to deal with the issues. Sometimes, some tools that are at our disposal can't be exacted until a person violates the law or, commits a crime, I should say, and then we're able to go into a reactive mode. With the things that you see now, these are proactive measures outside of making static posts. Emergency order is being proactive now, and having the law being made more known about what is allowed in the National Harbor or across other parts of our county. Those are proactive measures for information and intelligence. So it is different. So we will have more officers there. We will have a greater visibility. We will have a connected plan from police to National Harbor personnel to the residents who stay there. So we're getting better and better at our response, but it is different.
And I also just want to mention, add to that, remember that this is not the first time we've used the curfew at National Harbor. I enforced a curfew at National Harbor during COVID-19 when we saw sort of similar conduct happening there, and we were very successful. We found that the curfew was very successful. That's the reason we're actually very encouraged that we put these things in place. We know that we're going to be able to see a positive difference. We have had to make some adjustments. The ride share coordination and some of the other things that we're doing are a little different than things we've done in the past, but this is not the first time that we've used the curfew at National Harbor to address an issue regarding unaccompanied minors. And again, this time, the thing that I think is very important is we really want for people to understand you absolutely cannot bring your unaccompanied children to National Harbor and drop them off and leave them for the duration of the day and go elsewhere. We are now really putting things in place so that we will be able to turn those kids around and to have them go back to their parents. That's part of what we are saying here. 8-year-old children, 11-year-old children, this is absolutely unsafe and unacceptable, and we want everyone to understand that this cannot continue.
John Marie, then Letitia.
What happened to the countywide curfew? I know before you said it was in place indefinitely. Now, where does that stand? It seemed like it was, being enforced originally, but that's clearly slowed down, obviously.
Yeah, the countywide curfew has always been in place, so it wasn't new. What we did during the period that you saw a couple of years ago is I decided to make sure we were enforcing the curfew. The curfew has been on the books since 91 or so? We've had that curfew on the books for many years. It was just that we decided, so it's one of the tools. When I talk about having tools in the toolbox, depending on the climate, the chief will decide this is a tool that's appropriate for us to use to really respond to a climate that is changing from time to time. And what we saw once again, when I decided to enforce the curfew along with the chief recently, it was because we saw between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. was when we saw the height of the carjackings involving underage children. And the curfew, again, is our effort not only to save the lives of our children, but it is also to say to their parents that this is a partnership. The government is not solely responsible for keeping our kids safe. We need our families and communities to engage with us. Again, our first concern is the lives of our children and the lives of Prince Georgians. We don't have a single life to spare. So what we're doing now is ensuring we have, thank God, not seen any lives lost during what is unfolded at the National Harbor, and we're not going to wait for that to happen to take very aggressive action, because that is what is most important to us. Chief,
how much of last weekend can be attributed to Senior Skip Day, and also how many personnel were available at National Harbor prior to last weekend and now going forward?
Well, Senior Skip Day has been going on for a long time. It just didn't start. And we saw, some people in the room was on Senior Skip Day, but that was Friday in another place. But on Saturday is not a Senior Skip Day. There's no reason to have a skip day when you're not in school. That was really a culmination of things falling on a Saturday. There were many events where people want to get out for what is National 420 Day for those who partake in cannabis, and to come out there. It was a significant population saying let's go do that. And then you had the young people who get together and decide when are they going to do something. We don't decide that. They don't communicate even openly most of the time. Most of the time they're communicating in beyond our means into direct messaging and things like that we don't have any ability to observe. So they say, hey, let's go to National Harbor. It's the place to be. Let's get down there and have some fun. And let's be clear. When they come to the National Harbor, if their friends are going, or young boys and girls, different, being attracted to each other, they want to be in a place where where they can talk to each other. These are things that are as old as human beings, but that is what has happened. So when they put those down there in one weekend, then it ramped up into the hundreds, and it doesn't take a lot of people to start a ruckus, just a small amount. And a small amount of 800 can have a great, danger, a consequence, and that's what we saw. Now, the question really was asked, what is the difference? Some of those are operational deals, so I'm not going to give you a specific number. If I told you exactly what we had down there, then I tell everybody what they can do. I can tell you that a significant amount of resources will be placed there from the time last week, and more has happened. We've become, we have a better strategy, better tactics. We've deployed personnel in a more focused way, and we haven't been able to do that without the support of National Harbor, Peterson Company, the businesses, the homeowners association, everyone working together to form a united partnership for the betterment of National Harbor. And with those, the residents, the business owners, all of those can outnumber the amount of police. So we work in partnership. We're here for a team environment. As we heard the county executive say, we're there for the safety of our youth. We're there for the safety of people who live there, who are visiting there, for tourists who are coming from far and wide to enjoy the National Harbor. But most important, the police are there. When I say safety and security, we are not there to be your babysitter. The police don't have a babysitting service.
Brad, and then one more question.
For Superintendent House, I know this is perhaps an unanswerable question, but the root of this behavior, I've heard references to social media, to fight clubs, right? I've done stories about fight clubs in classrooms, in middle schools, in another county, and fight clubs here. Here's probably the unanswerable part. What is going on, with the social media, with the fight clubs, and what can you do about it in the schools?
And Brad, I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't know that that's an answer that anybody has a direct response that will fix the issue. There are positive sides of social media, but there is a dark side to social media as well. And it's going to be important that we continue to work collectively with our county executive, law enforcement, to get ahead of these things. There have been advances to allow us to get a heads up in reference to what's going on. And that takes manpower, that takes collective support with law enforcement to really let us know ahead of time that, hey, we've got a group of kids, some from your jurisdiction, some from another jurisdiction that may be coming together so that we can head these things off. But I think what this curfew does is a part of just that. It heads it off to ensure that we don't have individuals that are performing unlawful activities in a place that we all value and respect.
You right there.
I have two questions. One for the chief. Were there any arrests from the events over the weekend? And the second one for the county executive. There's a lot of research that shows these juvenile curfews don't work to prevent juvenile crime or prevent juveniles from being victims of crime. What have you seen as far as success in this county, and are you missing an opportunity to do something else that would be more successful?
Well, let me speak on the arrest and part of what you said before I hand it over to the county executive. Directly last week, one of our officers who was asking young people to leave and vacate, a young individual was standing there smoking cannabis right in front of the police, as if this was normal or ignorant of the law. And that young person was taken into our custody. That young person also, it's some trend that's going on now for young people to carry fake weapons like water guns. So he had a fake, weapon on him. We had a shoplifter down at one of our retail businesses. He was not a juvenile, he was an adult shoplifting. I guess he was taking advantage of the moment. And then we had a fight take place, which we arrested that person and issued a citation in response to that. So the important note is I don't want to weigh and start talking about the number of arrests is the indicator of some melee that was taking place. For police, when we put our hands on you or we detain you, we have you. This is not TV. We don't get a chance to handcuff you to a pole or do something else and sit you down and come back to it. That doesn't work. So we have to, when we put our hands on you and we have to detain you, we are responsible and accountable for you. And that means that police officer or two are taken out of service. So they can't go deal with the other issues that are running about, like the multiple fights that were taking place that you alluded to, that were in different spots and having us go to different places, which is why we enjoined with the National Harbor personnel to close it, that it needed to be closed in order to maintain the calmness or bring back calmness. Before I hand it over to the county executive, I want to answer the second part, really, a part of it from a police perspective. There are many studies, there are empirical data across the nation that says these curfew things work, and there's a whole group to say that don't work. If you believe they don't work, that's the studies that you read. If you believe they do work, you read those studies. And so what I have seen, when the county executive implemented the last curfew that was under me, it worked because we made it work. We put in a plan at the direction of our county executive to make sure we handled it with love and care and accountability. And it was successful because we had the cooperation and the compliance of parents and businesses and people who were affected by it. So it worked in Prince George's County. That is the important note. It may not work in another city. They may not have the same implementation in another city. And we wouldn't serve ourselves a great justice if we start taking other places and try to apply that place to us. We are Prince George's County. We are very different. We are more dynamic. You can go across this bridge right here and end up in Virginia or DC in a matter of seconds or minutes. And that's very different from a lot of other places and where they go. So I'll say that. We're going to implement this with a proper plan. I introduce you to Captain Hanson, a exemplary leader with his team in National Harbor, and we're going to apply it in a way that the community would trust the police chief and the police department to apply it. And that's what's going to make it successful again in a 50-50 partnership that I talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I can add much more to it than that. I think the act speaks for itself. I mean, I think the only other thing I'd say is what the chief is describing is this is yet one tool. Nobody is saying that a curfew cures crime. There's no one strategy we use that cures all of crime. It's one tool. And I can tell you that I think all of us standing here, from the legislators, the chief, all of us, none of us believes that doing nothing is an option. We believe that it is absolutely not an option not to do anything. And again, we will do whatever we have to spare the lives of our kids. What we know is the first child who is struck or killed, that would be the most unacceptable result of all. And none of us is prepared to wait until that happens. And so I agree with the chief. Maybe the curfew doesn't work in someone else's community, but in our community, and because of the parents who did engage with us during this last curfew, I have to give them a huge amount of credit. These parents got to work. They responded, they worked with us, and we're just signaling once again to our parents and community leaders and families, hey, listen, we need you to make sure that we are keeping not only our kids safe, but all of our residents safe. And we want to enjoy our environment together, but doing nothing is not an option.
Thank you very much.
Happy belated birthday. Good job again.